Hello everyone, my name is Natasha, and you are watching the Dawn Fan Project. Today we're going to talk about the hens in Dalmatians. Let's discuss their nature and dispel the myths and stereotypes that exist about this breed, and Anna will help us with this. And it will be quite an interesting and rich issue because a lot of information that is written on the internet about this breed does not correspond to reality, and why we'll find out in this story. And before starting this video, I want to ask you to subscribe to our community, like, and leave something, some opinion in the comments. I also invite you to join our doggy Telegram chat, where we communicate with people who have dogs from all over the world. We have such a large and interesting community. And we also help with some advice and solutions. In general, it's interesting there. In addition, we have a Telegram channel where we conduct a live format. We expose some moments that do not fall into the main video, and we communicate. We inform about some new shootings. Also, if you're shooting a certain breed, we make a post where you can ask your questions about this breed, and we will answer it in the issue about the breed. Well, let's not delay it for too long. We are starting this issue. Hello, tell us, how did you get this dog and why this particular breed?
So, well, that my first Dalmatian in '94. I was still a schoolgirl, and I accidentally came across the magazine Young Naturalist. You probably don't even remember her. Well, I know. Such a small format. And quite by chance, I saw such a small photo there, just with a stamp size and a small article. And I fell in love with this photo. Although I was already into the breeds, I was very well versed in the breeds. I had a huge encyclopedia, and that was, in principle, a Dalmatian, but somehow it was indistinctly written. Some kind of photo was not very beautiful, and somehow I didn't pay attention to this breed at all. And I didn't even think that Russia had them. In '94, there were very few of them at all. I have a dog. The first one had a brain of 27. That is, I understand that there are actually 27 dogs in Russia, a very rare breed at that time. But, well, there are many of them now, of course, but they do occur.
Tell the story of the origin of this breed.
Well, the breed, we saw some first mentions of it in the books of 1700 of some year. That is, during the excavations, there were figures similar in appearance to the Dalmatian. For a Dalmatian, it's important. Why? For some reason, they are constantly called Dalmatian breeds. Yes. As I understand it, when the cartoon came out, the translator translated, and this in fact fixed the knee. Yes, because it's constant. We were just walking across the yard and out of the car, oh, the Dalmatian. Well, it's not a Dalmatian. True, they called us Doberman at first, but this is also a familiar story. Nothing new at all. Well, so that's the origin in the territory of modern Croatia. Yeah, and there is the province of Dalmatia, respectively, so it is called Dalmatian. That's the story. Later, the breed was introduced in England, in Birmingham, and from that moment on, at an exhibition, at a dog show, and from that moment on, the breed began to appear in families. It has already become popular. At that time, the breed was fashionable among the nobles, among some noble persons. It was, having such a dog at home was considered luxurious. Yes, extensive, rich. What kind of dogs are they by nature? Dogs are very sociable. Dogs are sociable and friendly. Basically, aggression and cowardice or a marriage, it shouldn't be like this. Well, in general, as in any breed, but for Dalmatians, it is important because it is a although she is officially considered a bloodhound without tests. But of course it's not a hound. In fact, it's not a hunting dog. This is a companion dog. For family, for home, for family, for kids, for young couples. My puppies are usually bought by people around 20, 30 years of age. For starting a family, maybe having a baby and having a Dalmatian. This is just a classic picture of the owners of the Palatine.
Why do you think they become so rare? Because, well, I personally hardly see them at all.
It doesn't seem to me that they are very rare, actually. It's just that I'm at least focusing on the number of puppies and widows that are born in our breed. We had some statistics. I just know, again, from my puppies, that they kind of just go out of town. That is, people don't ride into the city, but out of the city. That's why we don't see them. So actually we are too. We come here to Moscow in winter, but we usually live outside the city. And I have several dogs, but even the neighbors don't always know that we have Dalmatians. Although we have them, and I see them every day. That is, there is no such thing that I haven't seen them there for many years. Yeah, there's somehow, yeah, I think that's actually not the case, which is rare, but it's actually not bad. Because when we first released the cartoon, then the movie came out, then the Crown movie came out, all these points are not done for the breed. Well, of course, yes, because the moment begins, they begin to produce. I'm sorry that it breeds like a Dalmatian. And in general, the breed is going downhill. Naturally, character, health, all this deteriorates.
Well, a lot of people write on the internet again that this breed is difficult to train, that they're kind of stupid. I quote, write in the comments, yes, yes, yes. And why do they say that? How do they feel about training in general? Is it difficult to train them?
It's a complete mystery to me, actually, because dogs are completely adequate, completely amenable. If you deal with them, they perceive everything perfectly. I don't know. I'm talking about the phrase stupid. I have a feeling that someone wrote it once, and now it's just a copy post. The copywriters are rewriting it, but I don't have any other idea, because dogs are really smart.
No, well, people wrote there, based on their own experience, that they were just uneducated. Maybe it has something to do with the dog's genetics, of course. But although I believe that there is no stupid dog, there is no stupid breed, there is just a stupid person who does not know how to take care of a dog.
Well, I think this is also possible at a time when the breed was very popular. This boom, yes, they needed everything that was not according to the catalog. Perhaps people simply took it without calculating their strength. Naturally, they watched the movie as the dog opens there. I do not know what is there. The walker, yes, takes it out. They think that a dog is born with these skills. Not really, that's all. It's probably just that. His usual expectations were not fulfilled, and now the dog is stupid. In fact, the dog is not stupid. Someone else is stupid. Someone time to carry that.
Tell us about the standard of this breed. Well, using the example of your dog.
Well, look, it means that our height fork is from 54 for bitches, the lowest standard, and 62 centimeters withers for males. The difference is actually quite big. So, Gawa, she's, well, a little bit taller than the minimum height. It's not a big dog. But as a rule, they are still slightly taller than our average height here. By weight, somewhere between 25 to 30 kilograms is optimal. Dalmatians have a tendency to overeat. This must be controlled. Accordingly, the weight can also flow in a larger direction, as a rule. What else by what features? We have two color options. This is a black spotted representative, and there is also a brown spotted one. I'll take the puppy out to show you later. I have a brown spotted puppy. Yes, there are puppies now, and I can directly bring two of them so that you can compare and show them. It will be interesting.
Isn't it dangerous to use them like that now?
No, nothing. They are a month and a half old. They are already adequate. Well, I need all the spring on my hands, of course, not on any land. Yeah, but nothing. Of course, it's not cold right now. Well, here, there is also a lemon color, but this is a marriage, respectively. Lemon juice, what? Lemon juice, well, spots. The spots are so light yellow. That's how the snow is around us now. So, there are also tricolor ones, that is, let's say the back is black. Yes, in those places where, for example, the shepherd got there are brown spots and tiger spots, but I honestly haven't seen them. But this is also a marriage sample. It is not considered the norm. Here we have two colors. Here it is. Again, the spots are located, of course, they are all unique. Roughly speaking, like a fingerprint. And ideally the spot should be something like that, so that the dog is not black at all and not white. Yes, this is, in principle, a dog of optimal color. Here's what else. The eyes. The eyes, well, they shouldn't be. The black spotted ones have dark brown ones, and the brown ones have such greenish amber, such a lighter color, and the nose and no lobe are also brown, respectively. Yeah. I would. The coat is smooth. It crumbles, as we like to say. The Dalmatian sheds twice a year, 6 months in spring, 6 months in autumn. I won't say anything new here. Basically, all bear-haired dogs also shed. It's just that for some reason it's strong on Dalmatina. Well, not for some reason, it's very noticeable because it's white. Also, white?
Yes, yes. Well, they're all white. Yes, everything is visible.
Here. There's no way to stop it, to be honest. I've tried neither feeding nor combing. Well, theoretically, it's probably possible to minimize this, but in general, it still won't be possible to do it to the end. Some kind of express mode, but anyway, yes. If it's all year round, then yes. It's for 2 days. Well, the main thing is, yes, it's generally useless. Therefore, if people are so anxious, it's probably not their option. I mean, of course, yeah, afternoon, come here. There's someone coming, I don't know who. Some strange dogs are walking here now. Well, not in our time. That's why we don't know anyone.
Again, on our favorite internet. There is a lot of information that they are loud. They bark a lot, incessantly, at everyone and everything. Yes, but I kind of see that it's not. But maybe it's individual? No, not at all.
I have dogs whose voices I've never heard before. That is, it's not at all. That's why I'm also saying that they're officially listed as hounds. In fact, hounds differ in that they have to warning bark, yes, and loudly, in such a trumpet-like, low voice. Dalmatian is not about that at all. In principle, they bark very little. Oh, yes. But how long we've been walking, how many dogs have passed, how many people have passed. To her, actually, well, she can poke, but it's not at all. So no, they're not loud at all. And they stay at home, quietly. There is no such shout from the windows. It's not about this breed at all.
Do they need long-term physical activity? Because this is also written on the internet. Well, yes, I know. All the questions at the townsfolk fit.
Yes, I know. I don't understand at all. Here are just a bunch of questions. Every time the puppies are asked, yes, the puppy is interested. The same questions are simple. Not really. A Dalmatian sleeps all day, just like any other normal adult dog. Yes, the puppy, of course, he's active, but he's active, I don't know, he's been there for 15 minutes. So, he got me on, play with a toy, that's it. Kick, and that's it, he's asleep. An adult dog in general. We went for a walk this morning, I don't know, for about 20 minutes. And then, well, because I had time, we went for 20 walks. We can. Yes, if it's warm, we can take a bike and ride for 2 to 3 hours. She will be happy to walk and run, and that's it. But if I don't ride a bike with her for 2 to 3 hours, nothing will happen. The dog will be in good shape anyway. Yes, if it is fed properly. The dog doesn't tear up the house. You don't bite anything. How much have I actually had in my entire life? 94 years old? That's about 30 years already, right, Dalmatian? That's a nightmare they love so much. I only had my first dog, and I remember it chewed on a book. Here's the spine of the book where the glue is. Apparently, if he smelled there, that's it. Oh, then that was there for me. I was a schoolgirl and had no experience, nothing. That's all. There's nothing else. No wires, no furniture. They're not gnawing at anything. Well, here's how to establish contact, so that everyday life, for example, for a person who takes, well, but the usual started schedule there at 5-2, goes to work in the morning, comes home from work in the evening.
How can we establish the contact of a wonderful existence together?
Well, of course, it's better to take it at the time of vacation or some long holidays like New Year's, for example. Now, this is, of course, the autumnal story. Then everything is simple. You just live with the dog. This breed does not require any special specific skills. Well, there must be some basic knowledge. Yes, you can buy a book by some adequate author. They do not know where to read it. It's basically like living with a dog. There's nothing so magical here. It's just that, for example, I have, well, besides Dalmatians, I also have Malinois. The Belgian Shepherd. You know the difference, right? I understand, of course, we recently found.
Просто ураган и эмоций, и активности.
Вот, да. То есть, Конечно, вот, например, Малиноа взять вот так просто
They
людям, которые...
don't.
It's just absolutely impossible. The Dalmatian is allowed. It is possible if a person is ready, in principle, to communicate with his dog. The main thing is to communicate. It's not necessary for her to know any commands. Yes, it's the commands there. Like a shepherd dog again. She saw and did push-ups. No, it's enough to have companionship, friendly contact, and that's it. Because, just like Dalmatians, yes, they have never been shepherds at all. And the story that they want to please the owner is also not about them. This must be understood. That is, you need to make friends with this dog, just like a family member. It is important. And what can you do with this dog?
What kind of sports activities are there?
Понятно. Agility, самое популярное. Agility, the most popular. We have someone who works with Dalmatians. Agility. Moreover, there is even a girl whose Dalmatian is deaf. And she's doing it anyway. And he's showing good results because he's watching with his eyes. Lots, gestures, and they're doing great. Exhibitions, respectively, are for amateurs. Shows. Yeah. What else? Well, naturally, I don't take into account any basic things there. Yes, but there is no ZKS. I would not recommend guard DV protection because the dog is not aggressive. Of course, you can upset her, but why? Well, yes, she's more everything to others. Well, yes, but there are also amateurs. There are others who, for example, still take it for hunting. I had a couple of people who, yeah. But what is it for hunting? Mostly the brain. Serve the game, the damaged one. Well, this is in fact the usual potty. You can teach any dog, absolutely any dog, to bring anything. Yes. But this, of course, is not a Dalmatian profile at all. Here. Well, that's something like that. Running. By bike. People are riding, also very active. In our country, initially, Dalmatians accompanied carts, yes, carriages. And they basically have the story in their blood, trotting at a certain pace. Therefore, cycling is generally a very important topic. And horses are also very cool. Dalmatians are very fond of horses. They seem to have a genetic history here, because I had horses. And there's fun shit in the Cebu. We come here sometimes. And that is, here is a Dalmatian who has never personally seen a horse. He approaches a horse without aggression, without fear. And the horse, which is the most interesting thing, it also reacts quite adequately. This is such a strange story. Interesting, but nevertheless, it is there. And I noticed that when you arrive, there may be a dog of a different breed. The horse will look suspiciously at that dog, that it's completely normal for a Dalmatian. I don't know. Maybe I was so lucky. Maybe there's somehow, but I don't know. Yes, but somehow we have such a contact.
Perhaps this can be explained somehow. Maybe it's because of some external data, because of the coloring. Well, maybe they see it a little differently.
Oh yes, well I don't know. And the pace is cycling. I had a case with the first dog. We were walking in a field somewhere, in such a road, such a field road, and the car was driving very slowly. Well, some kind of shigui, and my dog, we were just running around the field like that, suddenly got attached to this car from the side. And that's how she ran after her, right next to her. I'm like, Jerry, hey, where are you? Well, here she is. Oh, Mom, sorry. And that is, this pace somehow inspired her to follow this beautiful carriage in general. Yeah, 21 to the 06. Are they sensitive to temperature fluctuations?
That is, in winter, for example, it is cold, when in summer, when it is hot, because they are light and white. They can still get sunburn. No, there is no such thing.
No. First of all, they're light, they just reflect the sun. On the contrary, right? They just, therefore, it is possible to overheat the Dalmatian, of course, but a dark dog will naturally heat up faster. That's why we're doing well with the sun. By the way, on the contrary, they generally love the sun. When they go to the sea with dogs, they can lie down directly in the sun. That is, if someone goes into the shade, hears the same melannoy, it immediately goes into the shade. Then there are no Dalmatinas. They are in the sun. That's 13. There are no burns. I have never encountered such a situation about burns. As for the cold, well, we're walking now. It's 0. Yes, -1. In principle, the temperature is comfortable enough. You see, she's running, nothing shakes her, she doesn't press her legs, and so on. But of course, with a big minus, you will naturally freeze. There are people who dress them. I honestly don't. Well, first of all, I'm cold myself, so I don't walk for a long time in winter. That's all. That's why the most important thing is dangerous. In winter, it's the salt that is poured, the reagents. It's horrible.
Actually, that is the problem, but it's not a breed problem. It's a human problem.
Human, yes. That's why. But I also wonder if they don't get pigment in spots on the same sun.
For example, in our puddles, if you lie down in the sun, in the summer, they have pigmented spots right on their bellies, on their backs, and then they go away periodically. Well, yes, there is such a topic.
And with age, I noticed that more spots appear. Well, apparently, yes, it's some kind of soy. You can see better on the stomach. In principle, they appear all over the body. So when a dog is dry, you can't see it bombing the skin. Yes, but if you wet it, for example, you put a shower on it, yes, and it's dark right there. Yes, but it's something to do with age. I also didn't notice that it was related to the sun, or not to its absence, but to age. That is, the older the dog, the darker it is. But that's all genetics too. I think there are dogs that can do that, and some that can't. Many people are afraid of this, thinking that it is something wrong, abnormal. Again, this is not a dog problem. It's there, here, to the nerves.
Are they friendly to other dogs, but to children? That is, well, in a family with children, how will they treat them?
Yes, they are friendly. Of course, you have to be careful with small children. Well, again, not in terms of the fact that the dog can harm you on purpose. Yes, but a dog is an animal. Of course it can, I don't know, brush its tail there. By the way, their tails are very painful. No, maybe she ran past you and beat you with her tail. But you have such a coat, I see. In general, you can't break through. I'm without a coat and a tail. Yes, you can hurt. It's so strong, it's bruising. Here, but that's all nonsense. You can take them to children, yes, and very often they take them to children. Again, you need to understand what you're taking for an adult. A child is a child. Yes. Well, it just happens that they're like, my child has been dreaming of a dog all his life, so we decided to buy her for a year. Yes, this is also such a story. Well, I mean, like I have a 6-year-old kid, and now he's dreaming of a Dalmatian, and now we want to buy one. Well, yes, of course we'll buy it, but you'll be doing it for 6 years. So, well, it's just a very frequent request, too. I have to ask when they say, that's all for a child. I know the age right away. And what if the child is 14 to 15 years old? That's it, but it's an adequate age. The child is already conscious. You can already cope physically. Well, you can see physically that you can handle it. In principle, the dog is not such that it will take you to the fields. Of course, the male will be bigger and more powerful, so maybe a simpler bitch. If fought well with a child, yes. If contact is assumed that the child will be engaged, the bitch will be easier. With a heavier dog, yes, it's 100%. There's something else about children. Well, I have 2 children myself. Accordingly, if I have dogs for 30 years and the children, how old are my children? 17 and 16. Well, I already had them when I had dogs. There were no problems with words at all. Well, of course, I've already had the experience, so it probably makes sense too. So what else about children and to other animals? Oh, to other animals. Yes, they treat me well. No aggression, but the dog's past. To remember, yes, nothing like that. Of course, if she is attacked, she will respond. I mean, it's not like she's gonna lie down and be like, kill me. No, this is normal, an adequate dog. Actually, if you erase this beauty of color, yes, for example, just imagine the Dalmatian is just black. Well, here's a dog of medium height. Yes, black, she can take care of herself. She can stand up for herself. She can stand up for her family. We had a case when a peasant came to our cottage, for some reason, opening the gate from the inside like this. Actually, he came in and he already had 4 stitches here. Oh, attacked? Yes. Yes, the dog is guarding. Of course, maybe not everyone, but I don't think this one can. This particular way, yes. But her mom, for example, she's quite like that. That is, she will eat anyone, bite you. Here, she will also be fine, communicate adequately. But if there is danger, then theoretically, you can rely on this dog. Well, that is not quite such a sweet villain. Interesting, yes. You said that they are prone to overeating, to obesity.
How to properly adjust the diet? What is the best way to feed? What should I avoid? And just the same, here's the question of allergies. Are they prone to something like that or not?
So we usually have adherence of natural feeding. There are adherents of feed. Yes, I'm an adept of natural feeding right away. Me too, that's fine. Yeah, I don't want to denigrate the feeders there in any way. Yes. Of course, it's convenient. There are no questions. But for me, for example, personally, it's just clear to me what I'm giving. I don't understand when I give you something what it is in these pellets. It's not clear at all. Here, that's why I feed them meat. What do I feed you? I feed mainly mutton, rabbit, poultry. Moreover, my dogs are not allergic to birds. That's kind of explicit. Yes, that is, the ears do not itch, the eyes do not flow, that is, the wool falls out in the amount in that it should fall out. No more, no less. Here. Accordingly, I mostly feed sheep. And why not beef? Beef can cause allergens. And all of them. Yes, I agree. Well, actually I know. They say on the toxiologist that beef, in principle, will oxidize the body. This is information that has absolutely nothing to do with dogs. But nevertheless, it is there. And there's probably some fun in this for dogs too.
But the mutton is not too greasy, is it for them? So don't kid it, the fat one. Well, it's her anyway. I'm giving it a start.
То есть, конечно, это не каре барашек, да, с там фантиком на конце. Нет, баранина, мясо красное вообще, оно достаточно аллергенное, да. Вот, поэтому я... Star, and of course not washed, not cleaned. It's so dark, smelly, it smells like sheep. That's natural. It should all be raw. No boiled meat. Yes, no, very often. Right now, my puppies are moving away. Should I cook it? How should I cook? There's germs in there. There's this.
Of course, yes. In general, yes, it can be arduous for a very long time. And of course, in any case, there will be commentators who will write that no, it's better this way. It's a food thing. It's endless. This is such a sect in general.
It's just that you can just walk away with your head like that. So I'm just telling you, my experience, like mine. It's the case of me that I feed raw tripe. I give raw cottage cheese there, so it's clear that it's raw. Kefir, a raw egg, an apple, carrot, well, these are the things. Actually, this is the basis. I'll give you the chicken. They, snow, it is. So I give you the chicken, despite the fact that chicken is also considered an allergen. I have no problem with that. Oh, someone might have one. This should all be done experimentally. Well, I'm feeding the puppies with chicken backs now. So far, everything is okay. That's how it goes from there, but I hope it goes well. Turkey is allowed. Well, here's something. A bird, a fish, by the way too. Yes, fish too. These heads, the ridges of red fish, are right for a sweet soul. Only then does it all smell. It's all washed. But that's another story. We've already got a dog. But that's it. We'll have to wash it.
We buy turkey hens once. We already have small dogs, and we give him a head. And that eye just flew all over the kitchen. Damn, I don't think so. And with such pleasure, I like it so much, that's all. Oh, well, we're really talking about nutrition. About the fact that in general, if they are fed by a straight woman, then, in general, they will have such a rather dry appearance. Yes, and they won't be obese. Well, if you put a bucket with a straight woman, then it's toast.
Yes, toast, if not. Well, probably the food, that is, not probably, but the exact food, if according to the scheme, according to their diet too, but they're breeds that are difficult to feed. There's a grain of them over there, and this is a cornet. And these are whole breeds that are not very food-like. Dalmatian pishchavik. If there's a bucket of food, they'll eat until he breaks it. Well, usually, as a rule, not all of them. But there is such a trend in the breed. This, of course, is not a Labrador, which is definitely, for now, 100%. Until it bursts, it will eat. Here, there are no Dalmatians. They have, in principle, there are some breaks about food, but in general, it is necessary to be careful.
What diseases are found in this breed?
Diseases. So, well, allergy is still present in some lines, as I understand it, because I see Dalmatians with allergies sometimes, yes. Well, thank God, somehow I've managed to get away from it so far. Well, come here. In fact, it's certainly difficult because matching a couple is straightforward, a separate quest. Here, so what do we have? We have kittens. This is a weak spot in the breed. Well, again, it's all genetics. Should be simple. I think that when choosing a puppy, maybe you should ask how long grandma and grandpa, mom and dad lived, and how old they are. Well, that's kind of how it is, I guess. Well, you can also, of course, say anything.
Well, you can, yes.
But there is an internet connection. You can get a nickname. I do not know how. Well, I don't know. I honestly don't know what to recommend in this regard. Yeah. And so, in general, yes, we have kidneys, we have... The place is weak enough. Accordingly, it is necessary that water is always available, yes, so that the whole story is washed out. Here, what else? Yes, actually, the breed is very healthy. Here, why did I freeze up? Because really, the breed is healthy. Here, I'd been to the vet twice in my life for, again, 30 years. In both times, it was the sterilization of an elderly dog. That is, in general, in principle, we don't have anything that happens there. And we went, yes, but again, that's still in the cards. But really, this dog, for example, I don't know what a veterinarian is at all. She is 10 years old. Well, and the rest of the taxis, caution. Here, therefore, in principle, again, there are breeds that do not get out of veterinarians. Here you go in there, yes, and all the same people are sitting. This is not about Dalmatian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's it.
How to choose the right puppy? Here, let's talk about it and the pros and cons of this breed, in your opinion, based on your experience.
Yeah. How to choose a puppy? Well, first of all, you need to determine, of course, the male is a bitch, right? Well, of course. Now, this is important, because it's important right now. So, well, we need to make sure that the puppy is active. Again, I'm trying to figure out how to tell it that way, because you don't usually see a puppy for a long time, right? You can't come to a nursery and sit there for 5 hours. Yes, well, yes, there are, of course, people who try to do this. But honestly, there is no joy in the nursery from this. Because everyone has their own business here. And the puppy, that's all the same. Who is the breeder? It's necessary, that's probably how it is. We need to start by choosing a breeder. This is an important point. Because you either have to trust the breeder or you don't. So if you choose a breeder there, based on a recommendation, or for some intuitive reasons of your own, I do not know, and already ask the breeder here, tell me here, look at me here. Which puppy would you recommend to me? Because you understand here, for example, there are 9 puppies, right? They're all different. That's real. That is, it is clear that within the same breed, they have a plus or minus. There is a similar character, the same benevolence, right? Yes, it's still the puppies are different. Someone is more phlegmatic, someone is more active, that is, like this, that is, like... Well, I'm also a breeder, and I can tell from my puppies that they'll grow up. So, for example, who would I recommend for sports, right? That's who I wouldn't recommend for sports. Well, just because, yes, of course, you will also run, you will also survive. But I see that this is not a store in longevity, right? But she'll be a great babysitter for the kids there. Well, would a conditional babysitter, right? But with the kids, will be that just little baby. And the one that's running around the walls, like that, you took it off. Well, like they'll tear down the whole house there. That is, this is also possible. And this is for sports. That is, well, something like that. Well, and health. But for health, again, to come with your veterinarian needs. And yet, do not check immediately.
No, that is, it can manifest itself there in a year. And through there, when I have such a question again, purely for the sake of interest. That's a puppy, right? It has a certain number of specs. Are they going to stay like this? Or are some others going to appear there, I don't know, in 3, 4, or 5 months? Well, no.
As a rule, at about a month and a half, the color is already clear and it is quite stable. It may not be spots that appear with a crop. It may show up after some time, but not much. I mean, there's no such thing as you taking a puppy, and it has 3 spots, right? And then 6 months later, he's up and black. Well, there's definitely no such thing. No. Well, 2 or 3 spots. Well, again, there are spots and there is a crowd. That's the spot, that's it. Like, and the crowd is this, that is such specs when they appear. But then again, they were already on the skin. They just showed up in the wool. They showed up.
That's leader. Good.
You're my fish.
So, that's all about puppies.
Well, I don't know what else. What can I tell you about puppies? What do you think about puppies? Well, that he was cheerful, active, again, plus the funny one. They're all sunny. If the puppy is sad, then something is obviously wrong with him. But again, how will you see? That they mostly buy from photos and videos. Yes, according to the exterior most often.
According to the exterior, you won't see anything on the exterior there in a month.
Well, anyway, for example, if it's in terms of a Dalmatian, then they're, oh, well, that's the color, of course.
I want him to have a spot right here.
Well, yes. Well, this is just some very basic stuff. And so, in terms of what to choose, well, I say, here's a very important point. You just have to trust the breeder. It's also interesting when, well, it's not interesting, it's bad when they buy from a breeder and then they go online, post photos, say, but here's what you can, like, advise them to sell. And now all these people who wrote these stupid articles that Dalmatians, who in their case had never seen a Dalmatian in their lives, are starting to talk some kind of nonsense, and I want to ask, have you asked the breeder these questions? Well, you have to ask the breeder, because the breeder, he knows, he really knows. Well, if you're a breeder, and there's not some kind of breeding, right? Here, everything was simple. Well, really. And I actually have, when people come with such a request, advise us. Then, well, some positive emotions in general. People just thank me. They come for the second, for the third. I have families where 2 or 3 of my dogs live, so they bought it after a couple of years. And then we want more, then we want more, and the old one left. This is actually a very common topic.
Well, the pros and cons, in your opinion.
Advantages and disadvantages. Advantages and disadvantages. What advantages do you have? Well, I'm talking about the cons. You told me about wool. Well, again, you need to understand who you're taking it for. That is, if a person wants a guard dog, then this dog is a complete minus for him. Because what one of them out of 10, yes, maybe it will bite someone, but it's not for that. If a person understands adequately that he is taking a dog into the family, a companion, then this dog is a very good option. Except for wool. A wool is simple. You have to understand that all dogs have it. You can just see it, wait, that's all. Plus, she's like a needle. Well, it's like a needle, yes, because it's short. But it's like everyone's needles. So everyone, the Dobermans, the dachshund, the same, well, anyone. It's just that it's not so visible because we mostly have dark clothes. And accordingly, it is not visible on dark clothes. Here, and so, the amount of wool, I think that there's about is the same thing. So, well, and accordingly I say, if people assume that the dog is a security guard, sometimes it happens that we need her to protect us. I do not know which of the puppies will be directly guarding. Someone will, yes. Here I say, here is her mother, great-grandmother. Respectively, it turns out that the puppies have her. Yes, she can protect, but this is one of them of all my dogs. Oh, she's really straight. Yeah, well then, well, she's this type. She's big. She's so straight. Well, within the framework of the standard, but nevertheless, she is very different, for example, from this dog, which of course loves everyone very much, and in general, not enough. So she looks just fine for 20 years. Well, yes, we try our best. We eat, try every day. Well, yes, no. It's just about my health, but I miss an important point about my deafness. Yes. That there is deafness in the breed, in principle, but it is not as common as on the internet again. Here I have, again, I repeat, for many years, yes, there was only one time, a deaf puppy, completing deaf. And the puppy was deaf in 1 year. And as a rule, deaf puppies have blue eyes. It's also genetics, it's related. Not always, but nevertheless. Here's a puppy that just had 1 year. I heard one. It's not completely deaf, but there's just a certain device. Yes, it measures, as it were, the degree of deafness. Here, there was a decreased sensitivity, and this little eye was blue. That is, here he lies, when he's on his side like that, with an ear that hears him. Yes, that is, accordingly, an ear that doesn't hear from above. You can't reach him. When it's the other way around, everything is fine. That is like this. Yeah, but this is also quite a rare phenomenon. But you just have to keep in mind, and it's not just for Dalmatians. It's for all breeds that have a predominant white color. Again, it's all genetics. Here. Well, again, I told you that we have a girl with a deaf dog who studies from July, and it doesn't bother her in life, but doesn't bother her in sports. Therefore, there's no need to be afraid of this. There are even people who, on the contrary, are looking for a deaf dog too. Well, it's fun for them, but the dog is in contact with you all the time. In contact, yes. It could be a vibration. It is a dog knocks like that, ran in. Yes. It could be a hand wave there. She's almost watching you. Well, that is, people usually have a high motivation to contact the dog. Not just started it and well done, yes, but to steady, constantly, every day. There are people who are really interested in this, and they want to. Here, therefore, in general, here.
This video has come to an end. Thank you so much for watching it. I hope you were interested. Leave comments. We will talk to you. If you have any questions, we will definitely answer them. Join our Telegram chat. We're dog lovers. Communicate with each other. It really has such a friendly, interesting atmosphere. We help with some tips and just have fun. And our Telegram channel, where we have the live format, exposes moments from filming that do not fall into the main video. We are announcing the shooter, making posts. Now we'll do this almost constantly. You can ask questions about the breed, which we will be shooting in the future. And we will give answers to these questions already with the breeder. Anyway, thank you very much for watching again, and see you very soon. Bye.